Hi, my name is Leslie, and I'm here with a channeled message. Today's transmission, honestly, I think I need to just drop the pretense. I want to get into this whole thing, where I'm all professional and neat and organized and giving you this little introduction into the message that I have for you today. But I think I need to just drop that and just dive straight into the energy, because the energy that I want to talk about today, there's something about it that it even kind of like eludes the ability to talk about it. And I do think that that's very much at the center of what this energy is all about. We are dealing with an energy here that has a lot to do with communication and something that hinders our ability to communicate and to express things that we have to express. There is a very tangible sort of frustration that is centered around a powerlessness, really, that pretty much like impedes your ability to state and express things that need to be expressed. And honestly, like a very literal manifestation of this energy is the fact that I've actually lost count how many times I've tried to record this reading. I've suffered everything from external interference, things like my dog making weird sounds in the background and distracting me, and things like the recording actually not saving and me losing literally like 30 minutes worth of channeling, and also internal interference, which is really just me getting in my own way and getting in my head and preventing myself from saying what needs to be said. So that right there just shows us a very literal way in which this energy is manifesting. And it's really just an energy that is, I think, affecting us all collectively. But I was getting that it is particularly affecting the divine masculine collective. So if you are someone that identifies as a divine masculine or as a man, I do think that this is something that is particularly affecting you at this time, and probably has been affecting you for a while, because let's face it, I think that the way that our society works and the way that men are brought up, the way that masculine energy is typically reared, self-expression is not something that is oftentimes encouraged or rewarded in any kind of way. So we can see right there how there's already a disconnect, right? Between men or masculine presenting individuals and the ability to, for one, be self-aware when it comes to our emotions, our needs, and then also the ability to come out and express those emotions and those needs. Now, this is something that, even people who aren't men or people who do not identify with masculine energy can still struggle with this. But yeah, I was seeing that this is something that is particularly taking a toll on the divine masculine at this point. The main message that I was really being pressed to share at this time is there is a great need for us to evaluate at this time the ways in which we are holding ourselves back from expressing things that need to be expressed. And honestly, like, the energy that I've been feeling, there is a very tangible sense of frustration attached to it. It's actually been very uncomfortable because I've been feeling this energy for a little bit here. It's been present for a while, but in the past week, I would say it's been especially bad. Almost like it's something that's been kind of like simmering inside us, inside you. I think I kind of need to switch to speaking to you directly, you, whoever you're listening. If you're resonating with this, I would venture to say that it's like there's something that you've been carrying around inside, and really like keeping it pent in, and it's just been like bubbling underneath the surface, and it's gotten to that point where the pressure is building up, because even if you imagine it being like something that's bubbling, like a pot with boiling water and the lid is on, just keeping all that steam trapped inside, eventually that pressure gets to be so much that it boils over, and it can be quite catastrophic and quite intense. And that's kind of what this energy right now is feeling like, is this pressure that has been built up over a period of time in which we have been keeping something pent in. We've been keeping something locked up, and just repressed, really. So the main thing that I really wanted to drive home today is that for those of you who are resonating with this, I think I need to just come out and stop, because honestly, and this is something that happens a lot with intuitive readers. I think that I see this a lot with a lot of us who are like delivering a message, and we're like trying not to step on anybody's toes, and we're trying to not be too specific because we want everybody to be able to resonate, and we don't want to be presumptuous and like tell you about yourself. But I think because I'm getting something very, very, very specific, and I need to just come out and say it. So I'm going to come out and say it. If you're resonating with this, and you will know if this is for you. You already know what it is that you're holding inside, that you're not saying. I think it's something that you've been aware of for a very long time, that there's this idea that you need to share, this opinion that you need to express, this feeling that you need to share with somebody, a boundary that needs to be stated, like whatever it is. Okay, but it's something that you know and you have known for a while, that you have something that you want to say, but you have not expressed it yet. And the main thing that I see is holding you back is that instead of just being concerned with, this is my truth, and therefore I'm going to say it, I'm going to say whatever is true for me, you start to get into this place where it's almost like you're making things more complicated, and unnecessarily so, because instead of just saying, okay, well, what is true for me, and then just saying that, you say, what is true for me, and how do I want that to be perceived? How do I want that to be received? And how do I go about saying what I need to say so that it will be received in the best way possible? Or when do I say it? When is the right time? What is the right way to do it? What are the right words to use? And you're doing this because you are in a place where you are actually just very concerned with the perception and the way that your truth is going to be received, which that's a very valid thing, and I think that we all do that, obviously. Like, nobody likes to be misunderstood, nobody likes to be rejected, so it's a very normal thing, when we go to express ourselves, we want to make sure that we will be understood, and we are always, maybe a little bit aware of that distinct possibility that maybe we will be rejected. But when it comes to the point in which that fear of being misunderstood, that fear of being rejected actually outweighs your willingness to just say what you need to say, like that is when we start to have a problem, because what you're doing is you're actually preemptively rejecting yourself. so that you don't have to risk being rejected by another person. And I always look at it this way, because this really kind of comes down to that wounding that revolves around the possibility of being rejected, right? And just like how we are perceived. Like we can be so consumed with what people think about us, how we're going to be judged, how we're going to be received by other people. And we get into this place where like you start to care more about what someone else thinks of you versus what you think of you. And my personal philosophy is that I always say it's like I do and I don't care what people think about me. And I try to be very selective, honestly. I think that for the most part, I really don't care what most people think about me. Obviously, like it varies. There's some people whose opinion I value more than others. But in a general sense, while I would prefer for people to understand and accept and love me, I don't care enough to actually let that stop me from doing what I need to do and saying what I need to say. Because at the end of the day, my opinion of myself matters infinitely more to me than anybody else's opinion of me. So if I have something that I need to say, something that I need to express, something that I need to do in order to feel like I am being authentic, you know, and I'm honoring my truth, like I'm going to honor my truth regardless of how that is going to be received, because I need to accept myself. I need to honor and love myself enough to give myself permission to just be who I need to be, to say what I need to say. Because truthfully, and this is what I have just experienced in my own life, I think that when you have a truth that you do not allow to like exist out loud and out in the open, it's something that eventually it does become like a burden, you know? It's something that it kind of festers in a sort of way, and I don't really know like what I could possibly liken it to. I think that I favor metaphors a lot because it kind of helps me get my point across, and I'm not able to think of anything to liken it to at this moment. But I will tell you that when you have something that you need to express and you don't express it, it's something that like it, instead of blossoming and transforming and growing into something, it kind of just like implodes in on itself and it festers. It becomes heavy and dark and rotten. Like it just, when we have a truth, it is meant to be shared. It is meant to be expressed. And especially if it's something that like it's actively weighing on you, it's weighing on you because it's energy that needs an outlet. And really that's all it comes down to. And like I'm actually seeing I'm seeing a dog, like a cattle dog. So I feel like they're bringing up that analogy of like, you know, those working dogs that they're literally bred to have a job, and usually they're very energetic. So if you have one of the like, let's say like a herding dog, or even like huskies that are bred to like pull sleds through the snow, like these dogs need to have an outlet because they have such an abundance of energy that needs to be directed into something. And when it's not directed into something productive, it becomes very destructive, right? And like that's kind of the dynamic that I'm seeing with this energy. Like whatever it is that you're refusing to express, it's an energy that it's like begging to be channeled into something specific that will give it an outlet so that it does not become destructive, because that's what it has become. It has become destructive. And the way that I was really feeling this is that this is something that like if you're resonating with this, it's very possible that you may have been experiencing a feeling of frustration or restlessness. That's like really the words that were coming through, which really like the way that I was feeling it, it was quite nuanced, and I feel like it's a lot more complex than just frustration or restlessness, but that's really the best way that I can sum it up in a succinct kind of way. So I don't know, like this might have been showing up for you in any number of ways. Like maybe it's just you're more cranky than usual, and you notice that you're kind of like quick to anger, and just like more easily in a bad mood, or you're more moody in general. Like you notice your emotional state seems to be like more unstable in some kind of way. Maybe it's a feeling of ennui, which is really like a boredom or a dissatisfaction, you know, when like you're just like not feeling it, you know, and like nothing really fills you up, nothing really scratches the itch. And it's like when you need something but you don't know what you need, like because nothing is really giving you relief. I'm hearing some people might be struggling with sleep, actually. And I'm also hearing appetite as well. So I'm actually hearing two things. And I'm hearing the word oscillation. And I think that oscillation goes for both sleep and hunger. So it could be like the thing where you kind of oscillate from sleeplessness, insomnia, like you literally just like cannot properly get rest at night, to some days you're just like exhausted. And I think that the exhaustion is probably partially because, you know, you go through periods of not being able to rest. But also I'm hearing that sometimes the exhaustion is like an escapist mechanism. So I don't know if someone's like taking a lot of naps as a way to just like unplug and be like, I don't want to be conscious to think about this, so I'm gonna go to sleep. And I'm actually hearing that if that's you, it's possible that you're actually like experiencing a lot of realizations in your dreams. And mind you, I just looked down at the clock at 5:55, so I don't know if anybody's into angel numbers, but 555 might be a, I don't know, just like significant number for you, or you might start seeing that as a confirmation from here on out. Anyway, I don't know, I was kind of getting a lot of messages with that. So this energy might be affecting you in any number of ways. I was hearing there may be just like physical ailments going into this. So like if you've been experiencing a random physical ailment, like let's say you're suddenly just like getting these headaches, and oh my god, no, you know what I'm thinking about right now? Sorry, I sound like I'm all over the place, and this is just like the nature sometimes when you're channeling and you're like, I'm literally receiving like bolts of information and I'm like trying to keep them all organized, and it's really hard sometimes. But I started to see this memory of like, there was a period in which I started getting these headaches, and it was very specific because it was like the side of my head, like the sides of my head. And sometimes it would be more so like just like the left side or something like that. But it was very specific and weird because I never used to get those kinds of headaches. I'm very prone to tension headaches sometimes, but this was a completely different kind of headache that I was not used to. So I go to my acupuncturist because, yes, I am the kind of person that has an acupuncturist. And I started to tell her about these headaches, and she tells me how apparently the side of your head is where the gallbladder meridian runs through. And the gallbladder meridian is blocked by indecision and uncertainty. So she was telling me, oh, like, is there a decision that you have to make in your life and you're not making? Or is there something that, like, you know you need to do, but you're just, like, not taking the leap to do it? And I was like, oh, shit, you know, like, that actually kind of tracks. And then we kind of figured out that, like, for me, that weird headache that was, like, the sides of my head was actually just, like, an emotional thing. And I was actually hearing that come up right now. So like, I don't know if somebody out there listening to this could be experiencing headaches, and especially if it's headaches that are like tension in the sides of your head, that might literally be related to this pent-up energy that I've been discussing. But really anything, like, I don't know, like if you're randomly suffering from some random ache or pain, or like your allergies are suddenly flaring up really badly and you can't stop coughing out of nowhere, or you're falling ill more often than usual, just like anything like that. Like sometimes even physical things that like it's so easy to discard it as unrelated to anything spiritual, that can still be like your body literally crying for help and telling you there is something that's not right. You know, like there's something that is just like not sitting well with your spirit, and it can manifest somatically for a lot of people. So I don't know, I would just beckon you to kind of pay attention. And even if, you know, sometimes I do this, like if I have something going on physically, I will look it up. It's like, what is the spiritual meaning of pain in my right hip or whatever it is, you know? And you'll be surprised. Like in my experience, when I've tried this, it actually will usually come up with something that I'm like, like that might low-key be like onto something, you know? So I don't know, just throwing that out there in case it might be helpful to somebody. But just to like reel this back in, because I don't want to get too long-winded, as I am prone to doing. Yeah, like I feel like this is just a time where I heard enough is enough. So I really feel like whatever this is, like it's been going on for a while. And I think, again, like I said, you know what I'm talking about. You know what it is that you've been actively avoiding expressing, because that's what it is. It's an avoidance. It's something that like, this is, the elephant is not only in the room, it is actively taking a dump on your carpet, and you have to do something about that. You know, you have to escort him back outside where it belongs, and not just like allow this thing to continue building up, because that's what it's been doing. It's been building up. It's been building up inside you. And it's something that if you allow it to keep building up, it's just going to keep making you sick, whether literally sick or just spiritually and metaphorically sick. I also really want to say that all of this stuff that we're talking about with expressing something that needs to be expressed, and really just like speaking our truth, and all of that, it was coming hand in hand with a message that was centered around the idea of shadow work, which for anybody who's listening to this that is not familiar with that terminology, I really invite you to look that up, because it is very interesting, and I do think that it's something that we should all become somewhat familiar with, at least. And I will say, it's not even just like a woo-woo new agey thing. Like it's a very well-known concept even within psychology. Like Carl Jung literally started the concept of the shadow, pretty much. And it's really just talking about all of the parts of ourselves that we keep hidden, even from ourselves, and especially also from the world, right? Because for whatever reason, that's a part of you that it wasn't safe, or it wasn't acceptable, or it wasn't convenient for you to integrate that part of yourself into your conscious awareness. So we kind of relegate it to the shadows, where it's not going to bother anyone. It's not going to be scrutinized. It's just better to tuck it away for whatever reason, right? And there is shadow work that needs to be done here, because I believe that the reason that those of us that are potentially struggling with this concept of self-expression, the reason that we are struggling with self-expression and just like owning up to how we feel, owning up to our needs, stating our boundaries, all of these things, it's because the part that is in the shadow is the part of you that, how do I explain this? It's like you have relegated to the shadows the part of you that is comfortable, let's say, dwelling in that emotional realm. The part of you that is comfortable talking about emotions, that is comfortable stating a boundary, speaking your mind, that is the part of you that has been pushed into the shadows. And realistically, like, this probably started as a defense mechanism, let's call it, a way to cope, a way to survive. It's very likely that you may have experienced something where like it just wasn't safe, or it wasn't acceptable, or it wasn't convenient for you to be someone who was openly emotional and expressive. It wasn't acceptable in some kind of way for you to take up space in that capacity. So you learn to just deal with everything on your own, to just stuff it all down, to just become detached instead of having to put up with, maybe being misunderstood, maybe being rejected, maybe being in an environment where you were too sensitive and nobody around you had the capacity to properly meet your emotional needs. So it just becomes literally a defensive strategy to say, well, maybe I don't have any needs, right? But that's a cover. Because all of the things that you repress, all of the feelings that you pretend not to have, all of the needs that you minimize and shove off to the side, all of the truths that you dare not speak, it's not like they cease to exist. They're just literally being stuffed away somewhere where you don't have to think about them. And I'm actually seeing a junk drawer. So I feel like that's just like a very funny metaphor for this. I'm seeing like a junk drawer or like a junk closet. So I don't know, like I feel like maybe whatever it is that is coming up right now, it's very much like that closet in your nana's house that people have just been stuffing shit into it for the past 25 years. And it's to the point where you don't even know what the hell is in that thing. It's not until you open it and you start to pull stuff out of it that you realize like literally just how much garbage people have been throwing in there. And it's just like taking up space. Like you could be doing something useful with that space instead of hoarding literal trash, right? So now pulling back out of that metaphor and trying to take it back to a practical place, if we are thinking of ourselves much in similar terms as, that junk closet that you don't even know what's in it until you start to go through it, sometimes shadow work is really just taking stock of everything that you are carrying around inside you. Because chances are that you don't even know what you're carrying around. And I'm actually, I feel like there's somebody listening to this that is honestly it feels kind of cynical. I don't know. Just, I guess cynical is the best way to put it. Like someone that's like, oh, like, I don't need to do shadow work. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not carrying around anything. I don't have anything that I need to say that I'm not saying. And it feels honestly kind of like a defensive energy as well, I will say. And I'm gonna lovingly call you out on your shit because you're full of shit. I'm sorry. Like, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself about how, oh, you're all good, you don't have any shadow work to do, there's nothing wrong with you, you're not holding anything back, like, please, let's be for real here. I really feel like, honestly, like, if you're a human being and you are alive in a human body, then there is probably something about yourself that you do not realize at any given point. Because that is just like the nature of our psyche, is that we like to avoid the things that are uncomfortable. We like to avoid the things that we don't feel equipped to deal with at any given time. And really, it can become like this out of sight, out of mind sort of thing, So I don't know, like, the human mind is very good at compartmentalizing sometimes, to the point that we can literally just, like, forget that we're carrying something around that is actually a burden onto us. And I'm actually hearing to tell you that for a lot of you, if there is something that you're avoiding expressing or whatever, it's like you won't even realize how much of a burden it was until the burden is lifted. So I don't know, like, it's just about taking that jump, and expressing whatever it is that you are not expressing. And also, taking this back to shadow work, it's about undoing the beliefs that led you to a point where it feels so unsurmountable to be able to express yourself. Because that's really, I think, the whole premise that, they were trying to bring up with this whole idea of shadow work. Because, shadow work, you can apply that to literally anything. And I invite you to literally take stock of literally everything that you believe about yourself and try to decide how much of that is true. Because oftentimes our sense of self, our sense of identity and who we are, it's comprised of shit that isn't even true. It's just something that maybe it's programming somebody taught you. Maybe it's something that you adopted as a defense mechanism, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be true. So I don't know, I really think that somebody here has adopted a truth that is something along the lines of, oh, well, I'm just not an emotional person. I'm just not good at talking about my feelings. I don't like talking about my feelings. It makes me uncomfortable. I think feelings are gross. I think feelings are stupid. Oh, I think talking about feelings is for girls, or it's gay, or I'm just kind of trying to go through all the different programming that people can have around the concept of self-expression, right? And all of the things that we tell ourselves that then keep us limited in this perspective where, nope, I'm not going to say how I feel. I'm not going to state my needs. I'm not going to state my boundaries. Another one could be I'm hearing nice girl programming. So if there is someone who is more on the feminine side, maybe the programming can actually be something like people pleasing, where you don't say what you need to say because you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings. And honestly, I think I need to kind of drop the gendering here, because obviously I feel like women are more socialized to be amenable, right, and to be people pleasing, but nobody is exempt, and fawning and people pleasing is a behavior that anybody can fall prey to, right? So it could be that it's a people-pleasing programming where you're afraid of hurting people's feelings. Maybe it's that you're afraid of being misunderstood. Maybe it's that whatever it is, but there's some kind of belief, some kind of programming, some kind of preconceived notion that is really placing a limitation around your ability to own up to how you feel. And I think that the challenge here is for us to step into a place where not only can we admit to ourselves, this is my truth, this is how I feel, this is what I want, but then we can also take that truth and externalize it. Because when you can get to a point where you can verbalize your truth to another entity outside of yourself, that is the last frontier I'm hearing in self-acceptance and just really owning up to your truth. You know what I mean? Because that is how you know that even if you could be terrified of being misunderstood, you could be terrified of being rejected by another person, but you're still going to take the risk anyway, because at the end of the day, you accept yourself. And you love yourself enough to give yourself permission to have the freedom to express your truth. Because believe it or not, and this is something that honestly I did not understand it myself until I took the leap into becoming somebody that expresses themselves at any cost, right? That not expressing yourself is extremely stifling to the spirit, and you don't realize how stifling it is. It's when you live your life as someone that doesn't express their truth, someone that doesn't say how they're feeling, someone that doesn't like speak their mind, like that is something that it's almost like you're living like a half-life. You're living as a watered down version of yourself. And truthfully, it's something that like it doesn't fully click until you fully come out at the other side of that. And like the only thing that I can actually liken it to is like, you know, when you were a kid and your parents would tell you, oh, like, you won't understand this until you're grown up. And like at the time, it just sounded like bullshit, you know, like it sounds like a platitude, like, oh, sure, dude, like I get it, I know what you're talking about. But it's like, no, then you grow up and your brain fully develops and it's like, oh, like I get it, like it makes sense in a different way. And I'm just telling you that because I think somebody listening to this is probably sitting there like, oh, whatever, like I'm fine, I don't need to express myself, I don't need to like say how I feel, like it won't make a difference. And I'm telling you, it will make a difference. It will make a difference. It will be liberating, it will be exhilarating, it will like it will just like free you in a way that I honestly cannot even articulate what that will feel like, to not have that weight on your shoulders anymore. It's something that you just have to experience for yourself. So I will leave it at that because I feel like 36 minutes is quite gratuitous even for me. And I'm sure if you've made it this far, you're probably like, damn, when is she gonna shut up, you know? But, you know, thank you so much for tuning into this. I hope that if you made it through this whole thing, you will have gotten something helpful out of it, or at least been entertained or something. I don't know. But thank you so much again. I will be catching you in the next transmission, and you take good care of yourself.